grandson. I sent a group email to everybody with last week's class on it. If you did not receive that, please let me know. Or if you don't do email, please let me know, and I'll find another way to communicate with you. Today's class is sponsored, thank you, by Marlene White in honor of guys and girls in the IDF and everything that they're doing. Thank you, Marlene.
And what about,
I'm sorry.
I sponsored last week, it didn't get down, so you were gonna do it this week.
I'm sorry.
I sponsored as well.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Tanya is going to announce that she's sponsoring today in memory of
My father's first Yortzeit, Abraham, not Abraham, Yisrael, then Abraham.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Thanks to the Sisterhood for organizing, and thank you to the sponsors. It's a big deal to be sponsoring the learning of Torah in our community, and we're grateful to people who step up and do that. So we're continuing the situation of what happens if a person is entrusted with an object by someone else, and now the person who trusted them to watch that comes to reclaim it, it's not available. What happens? What's the responsibility of the shomer, right? The person who is, the English translates that as Bailey, so the person who trusts the person, the one to watch is called the Bailor, the one who accepts is the Bailey. What happens? So we had the case of the cow and of the sheep, right? That someone trusted her friend with watching the cow. She comes back, the cow's not there. What do? Who has to pay? So we went through the situation of who gets to keep the fine. And by that I mean that if someone steals my car, for example, and then the thief is caught, the thief has to pay the value of the car, or return the car to me if it's still usable, plus they pay an additional additional value. So if the car is worth, let's say it's an old junky car, $5,000, they have to give $10,000, right? 5 plus 5. And then the whole question arose, who gets to keep that additional amount, right? Because the situation is that if, okay, Chava, you're new here, so we're going to pick on you. So if let's say if Betty trusts Chava to watch her car, and now Betty comes back from the cruise, and Chava is supposed to return the car to her, and Chava says, I don't know what happened. I went over and I started it every few days the way I was supposed to. It was in your parking spot. It's not here now. So Betty says, well, you know, what's going to happen now? So Chava has a choice. She can either just pay Betty the value of the car, or because she was an unpaid watcher, she's a shomeres china, and we're going to go into the difference between the different types. But she is a chinam. Chinam means what?
Free.
Means free, right? She wasn't paid. So a shomer chinam is only responsible to pay if she was negligent, or if she used it for herself. She took it for herself. So if she was not careful, did not go and check and make sure that the car was where it was supposed to be, she didn't start it as often as she was supposed to, or she used it for herself, then she's got to pay. But as long as she didn't do that, she does not need to pay to Betty the value of the car, but either she has to pay her, or she's got to swear that she did not do these negative infractions, right? So if she swears that she did not use it for herself, or she was not negligent, now she's off the hook, and it remains with Betty. But let's say she decided not to swear, because not everybody wants to swear. And Chava said, you know what, rather than swearing, I'll just give you the money. So now, Chava paid Betty for the car, and Chani saw somebody driving that car along Boynton Beach Boulevard, called the police, they caught the thief, right? And now the thief has to pay the value plus another 100%. Who gets that money? So we established that the shomer, or the shomeret in this case, gets to keep it because she is standing now in the place of the owner, okay?
Only
So-
if you pay?
That's today's question. So if you take a look at where we are today, if you have if you're using the Hebrew one, which is in your packet also, it's on the second page in there, and it's on about 15 lines down. So you're in the first page. Flip over the second page, and count down 15 lines, and you're going to find where it says Shilei Melo Ratzali Shava. And if you're using the English one, so in that one we're on page 191. Page 191, the third paragraph. Okay? So our Mishnah said, Shilei Molo Ratzali Shava. So let's say you have a case, Chava did not want to swear, she paid Betty the value of the car. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Ava, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Chia bar Ava said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Lo shilein mamash. Mamash means actually, right? That Chava did not necessarily have to pay. She said she wants to pay. Maybe she didn't pay yet. What does it say? It says Tanan shilein below ratzali shava. So our Mishnah says she paid. She did not wish to swear. Shilein in lo shilein lo. So it would seem that she'd have to. Oh, I skipped a line, sorry. So, Kevan Amar Hareini Mishalim, once Chava says, I'll pay. So now she's obligated to pay. So once she makes that statement, I will pay, in that case, right? Afal Pi Shalosh Shilein, even though she didn't pay. So, wait a second, the Gemara says. It says, Tanan Shilein below Ratzali Shava. So our Mishnah says that the shomer paid but did not want to swear, so shilein in lo shilein lo. So if she did actually pay, then she would have the benefit of the kefel payment. If she didn't actually pay, it's not. So we have a difference of opinion here, right? One opinion says that as long as she said she wants to pay, and now let's say Hani found the car before Chava had a chance to zell the money to Betty, right? So, but Chava said she would pay, so now she's entitled to get paid that extra amount. Of course, the principal is going to go back to Betty, but the extra is going to go to Chava. That's one opinion. The other opinion is that, no, she has to actually pay. If she hasn't actually paid, then she doesn't stand in place of the owner of the object. So then the Gemara says, he says, Ema Seifa, look at the end of the Mishnah, where it says, if you look back at our Mishnah, it says that if she paid, right? So basically what happens is that we're saying, one opinion is saying that she has to pay. So he says, Nishra v'lo ratzah lishalem. So why does it say she did not wish to pay? Because time of ratzah, because she did not want to. Haratzah, if she indicated that she did want to pay, in that case, afal pi, this is an abbreviation, aleph ayin pei, stands afal pi, even though, shalosh shilim, even though she didn't pay. So once Chava has said that she's prepared to pay Betty for the value of the car, now Chava stands in the place of Betty, and when Chani finds the car, the thief is going to pay the kefil, the extra payment, to Chava. Okay? So then it says, El Meho Leka Lamashma Mina. So basically they're saying that from our Mishnah, it's inconclusive, because we have basically two statements in the Mishnah, and it's not clear what the meaning is. So, and I know that bothered certain people last, Ava.
Is there a time element here? Like, she said she's going to pay, but she didn't, is there a time?
Okay, so what do you think?
I mean, she could pay like a week later, or is it a few hours, is it a week, is it,
But the
what if the
cost-
car's found
So-
and she didn't pay?
The question
she
is
said she would?
intention.
Like, how long
Is
does
it
her,
just the intent?
her?
Well, she's expressing her intention,
Right,
right?
but how long does that last?
Okay, so that's a good question. So if you're, let's say here, Betty wants to go out and buy another car, right? And and Chava says she's gonna pay, now it comes back, today's January the 27th, now it's gonna be New Year's, well, it's New Year's weekend, give her a break, but
December.
what? Next week is gonna be New Year's, right?
I know, but you said it's January 27th.
Or did I?
Don't push it.
Okay.
We need all the time we can get.
Thank you. Okay, so but the point is that a reasonable time goes by, and Betty does have money. She's got a right to go back to the court and say, listen, she says she intends to pay, but I don't see it, right? So then maybe Ava's question is a good question. But in any event, we take her at her word. She intends to pay, but she didn't pay yet. So, but our Mishnah it's not clear, because from the statements in the Mishnah, it's not exactly clear what has to happen. Chava?
So the issues here, intention is valid, or is intention is considered action, or intention is just intention.
Exactly right. So along came the Rambam, and the Rambam says that if we can establish that her intention was to pay, she is in that place of the owner right now. So he settled the question for us. Okay. The Gemara doesn't. Right, we said that the Gemara doesn't always do that. The Gemara is not necessarily about giving us answers, but it's giving us questions, and it's engaging us in the conversation. Yes, Alice.
What exactly is involved with the swearing that people wouldn't want to do it?
Well, so you have the person hold the Sefer Torah
Yeah.
and swear and say that I swear that I did not do whatever and
Right. Why
right.
wouldn't everybody just want to do that instead of having to pay somebody for something that wasn't your fault?
Well, not everybody's willing to do that. A lot of people don't want to actually. That's a big responsibility, and they prefer not to do it. So I don't know what the percentage would be of how many people would or would not want to. Today it's sort of taken lightly. Everybody that testifies, I swear to, but I guess back then it wasn't such a.
Maybe there would be some doubt lingering. If a person swears to something, and you have no way to dispute, I mean, if there's no one saw what happened, you're relying on this swearing, that actual taking the oath. Maybe some people feel guilty, or they feel that the people will talk about them. Did she really? Was she innocent? Was she guilty? She swore. I just feel like people, they'd rather just pay. It's done. Like, there are a lot of people, I think, because so many decisions are based on emotion. I mean,
Isn't Jewish law
Logic.
against swearing? Kol nidre, isn't it against it?
Yeah.
Well,
Basically?
I guess so. In a certain sense, we're not really too excited about people doing it, and of course, the oaths and the vows and the Kol Nidre are a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
that
yeah,
was
so
like
you're
in
right,
jury
right.
duty, you can take an oath, I've done that. I don't wanna put my hand on their Bible and swear, so they say,
You
you take
affirm.
an oath and you just do that.
Right, or you affirm.
Right.
Right. So there's that, but right on Kol Nidre, but a lot of what we talk about on Kol Nidre now
Yeah,
is
it's something else, I know.
Well,
If
it's
you
all-
do this, I will do this, if Hashem does
well,
this.
it's also where if I adopt a certain good habit and I do it a few times in a row, then once I've done it 3 times, then it becomes sort of my practice, and then it could be interpreted as if I made
I
a
know.
vow to do that, and so on Kol Nidre, I'm saying I don't mean that to
Yes, it's
become-
not the same, I
Right.
understand.
So, but the point is that swearing is not the preferable act. People would rather not do it. Some people don't mind. I mean, look, I guess it depends on how much money we're talking about too, right? whether that would influence you. But in any event, so here we have a situation where either Chava said she intended to pay or Chava did pay, and now what's going to happen? And how are the different types of shomrim affected by that statement? Because if you take a look at there are different rules. The Torah lays out what are the responsibilities of the different shomrim. So we know that we have 4 different types, right? We have the shomer chinam, that's the first one. The shomer chinam is the unpaid, right? Then we have the next 2 are called the safar and the socher, and I made them the same color because the rules are the same. The safar is someone who is paid to watch. So let's say, I don't know, Ellen's going on the cruise and she hires a house watcher, right? So that house watcher is a shomer safar. That house watcher is being paid. So the level of responsibility of the safar is greater than the chinam, right? And so we're talking about cars. So our car is a leased car, right? We don't own the car, we lease the car. So we are a socher. We rent that car. So a renter, a socher and a socher have the same rules, and we're gonna get to them in a second. And the last type is the shoel. Shoel is a borrower, and the rules that apply in terms of responsibility are the strictest for the shoel. Why?
You borrowed it, you're responsible.
Because the shoel gets all the benefit. The shomer chinam is going to swear. What does he swear? He swears that shelo pashati, that I was not negligent, and shelo shalach ba yad, that I did not put my hand on it. I didn't use it. So shomer chinam is not allowed to use it. Okay. The sachar and the sachar is also not allowed to use it because he's paid just to watch it. So your house watcher is not supposed to sit there and watch the Super Bowl on your big screen TV. They're just going to come in, make sure the thermostat is right, whatever. There's no leaks, and get out, right? So they're also not allowed to watch it. The socher has permission to use it because they're paying for it, but the shoel, they're paying nothing and they get all the use. So the rules are stricter as far as the shoel, right? Okay. So let's see what the Gemara has to say about these 4 different types. Okay, so here we go. Hasocher, okay, this is according to Rabbi Yochanan. Hasocher para mechavero v'nignava. So a socher is liable for theft. That means if my car gets stolen, I have to, Subaru of America is going to come for that car. They're not going to accept my excuse the car was stolen. They want that car. It's a leased car, and I'm obligated to, at the end of the lease term, give them back that car. I can't say, well, sorry guys, it was stolen. So the socher is liable in the case of theft, as opposed to the shomer chinam, right? The shomer chinam, who was just watching it as a favor, is not liable for theft. So here, the socher par mechavero v'nignava, and it was stolen. V'amar, and he says, Hala, hareini mishalem eini nishba. And so the socher says, I will pay, so I'll continue to make my lease payments, and I'm not going to, and I will pay for the value of the car at the end of the lease. I have to give it back, or else I pay the residual value. So I have to pay. But I'm not going to swear, right? Because Ava doesn't want me to swear. I'm not going to be swearing. But what happens is, achar kach nimsa haganav, and then Chani found that car too. She's got her eye on Boynton Beach Boulevard, and she sees these stolen cars going by. So haganav mishalem tashlume kefil socher. The ganav pays the kefil, the second payment, right? Who does it gonna pay to? To the socher, because I've paid for the value of that car, right? So now I get, the payment is made to me. And again, it doesn't matter whether our opinion is whether my intention was or I did pay, because we didn't settle that until the Rambam came along. But the point is that once I have admitted that it was stolen, and I pay for that item, and now the thief is caught, I get paid the kefil, right? Okay. Omar Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says, Shomer Chinam Kivan She'omar Pashati. Once the Shomer Chinam, if the item were stolen from the Shomer Chinam's house, right? So if Chava's watching Betty's car, she's not being paid to watch it, and it got stolen, she's not responsible. Whereas the renter is, or Shomer Sachar, or the house watcher is, right? If your grandmother's china is stolen out of the house, and you have a house watcher supposed to be watching it, if they're being paid to do that, they have to make it good. That's the Shomer Sachar has to pay. So in the case of a Shomer Chinam, Rav Papa says, once he said, I have been negligent, he didn't say it was stolen. He could have said it was stolen. If he said it was stolen, then is he obligated to pay for it? Not the Shomer Chinam maybe, right? So in that case, once the Shomer Chinam, the unpaid watcher, says, Pashati, I was negligent, I didn't watch it properly, in that case, Mafnele Kvelo, he gets the kefil. It comes to him, which means that Rav Papa is of the opinion that once the Shomer expresses the desire or the intention to pay, so this Shomer said, I was negligent, which indicates I expect to have to pay for it, right? Because there's no way out as the Shomer Chinam. So in that case, the kefil, if Chani found that car, so then the kefil would go to the Shomer, to Chava, right? Because why? Says Rav Papa, is because the Iboy Pater Nafshe Bigneva, because he could have said it was stolen, right? And therefore, he would have exempted himself by saying it was stolen. Because if the Shomer said it was stolen, and then they have to swear and so on, but still and all, that defense will work. There's no, right? There's no monetary obligation at that point. So that takes care of the Shomer Chinam. Shomer Chinam, and we're going to see a progression here, because each of them has a different level from the others. So the Shomer Chinam, if it was stolen, he's off the hook, right? So you have a case where the Shomer Chinam says I was negligent, right? Once he says he was negligent, then the kefil payment goes to him, because why? Because he's saying I intend to pay. Because I could have said it was stolen, and I would not have to pay. Once I said negligent, I did not take a defense which I could have used, right? I could have said it was stolen, but I didn't. I said I was negligent, right? And therefore, the kefil payment, the double payment, is going to go to that Shomer Chinam. Okay. Next, Shomer Sachar. So our paid, our house watcher, right? Kevin Shomer Nignava Matnele Kvelo. Once the Shomer Sachar, because don't forget the Shomer Sachar, the house watcher who's getting paid to do this, is responsible if it was stolen. That's not an excuse for him. He doesn't. If that house watcher says that, I don't know, whatever, your laptop was stolen, and it was stolen, that doesn't help. He's got to give it back. He's got to pay you for that laptop. So once he said that, he now has now he's eligible to get the kefil. Once the laptop is found, he gets it. Why? Because the boy potanavshe b'shavura umesa. So he could have said it broke, And if the item just broke, right? So we're talking now that if it broke, that's a defense for him. So he could have said that, and he didn't say that. Therefore, by saying that it was stolen, which he knows he's liable to pay if it was stolen, so he now stands in the place of El, okay? So, Shoel, so how about the Shoel, our borrower down here? So how about him? Is there a way that he can make a statement which will now make him eligible to receive the kefil if the item is subsequently found? So he says, Shoel, she'omer hareini mishalem lo makni le kfela. The Shoel can't say purely by his intention that he receives the kefil. He actually has to pay. Where the others, once they've made this statement, we're assuming we're in court, whatever it is. So the statement's been made in court that I don't have a defense for what happened. If I'm a shomer chinam, I'm saying that I was negligent. If I'm the shomer socher or the socher, I'm saying it was stolen. So that means I accept responsibility. I'm going to have to pay. So now that is a debt which can be collected in court, because once a person says that, now Betty comes along and says, listen, she said she's going to pay, but she hasn't paid now, so the court can enforce that judgment, right? So they can put a lien on the property, whatever they do to collect the money, they can do it, because she has said, she has accepted that she is responsible, okay? But how about the Shoel? The Shoel doesn't have that, because what can the Shoel say that will exempt them from paying? If it's stolen, they're still responsible, right? If it got lost, they're still responsible. So the Shoel saying something doesn't help them, because there's nothing that they can say. So wait a second, the Gemara says. So he says the Shoel does not get the kefil. Why? He says because b'may hava leila mifta nafshe. What can he say that will exempt him from paying? In other words, what better claim could he have that would exempt him from having to return that object? So the Gemara says, well, there is one, but mesa machmas malacha, right? So if I borrowed, okay, Marlene, if I borrowed Marlene's ox to plow my field, and in the middle of the day the ox dropped dead, that's called meta machmat malacha. It died from the normal use, right? That is the only one exemption that Shoel has. I borrowed it to plow the field. I didn't abuse it. It wasn't 95 degrees. I didn't give it water. Whatever it was, I just took it out to plow, and the ox just dropped dead. That's the only thing that's the only exemption that I have as a Shoel, as a borrower, right? So in the case if Betty lent her car to Chava, and instead of asking Chava to watch it, she actually lent it to her. And Chava's driving down 95, and all of a sudden the engine seizes up. Well, that could not have been. She couldn't have contemplated that's going to happen. That's normal use of the car. In that case, Chava's not responsible for it, because that's Mesa Machmat Malacha. The normal use of that car is to drive from here to Fort Lauderdale, whatever. So in that case, she would be exempt, but the Gemara says no. It says because it says Mesa Machmas Malacha Lo Shchiach. It doesn't happen that often, and so we can't even consider that in the equation. So therefore, the Shoel, simply by saying that I intend to pay, there's no claim that they can make that will exempt them. Therefore, they have to actually pay. Okay. So, Ikata Amri, Amar Papa. So some say Rav Papa said, Shoel Nami, even the Shoel, Kivin Amar Hareini Mishalem. Once the Shoel says, I will pay. Okay, so now they don't have to say a particular claim that took place. They're actually obligating themselves to pay now. Once they've said that, in that case, Makdila Kfela. Because at that point, they now have received the right to get the kefel if the item is recovered. Why? Because because he could have said that it died on its as part of its normal operation, and therefore, so there's a difference of opinion there. But the point is that once he accepts on himself that he's going to have to pay, he now stands in the place of the actual owner of the object. Okay. Amalei Rav Zvid. So Rav Zvid said to him, Hachi Amar Abaye. This is what Abaye says. Shoel Achi Yishalem. The borrower, says Abaye, does not stand in the place of the owner until he actually pays. He can't just make a statement, says Abaye. Why? Because my taima. What is the reason, Abaye? Why do you say that the shoel is going to be considered? We're going to look at him more strictly than everybody else because kol hana shelo. He gets all the benefit of this transaction, right? What benefit was there to Betty to lend her car to Chava, other than, she's a nice lady and she feels good about it, but Chava gets all the benefit in the transaction. She gets to borrow the car. So therefore, she needs to not just say she intends to pay, says Abaye, she has to pay. Okay? So the Gemara continues, says, Tanya Kava Seder Rav Zvid, and Rav Zvid's question that he's asking Abaye, there is support for it in a Braita. Remember, a Braita is written by the same people, the Tanaim who wrote the Mishnah, so it has the authority. So Abaye is an Amora. He's from the next group. So remember, the Tanaim were from about 50 before the Common Era to around 200 in the Common Era. That was the time of the Mishnah. And the Mishnah and the Braita, that was the Tanaim. And they can argue with each other, but the next group, the Amoraim, who are coming to expand and explain the Gemara, they're from like 200 to 500 in the Common Era. They can argue among themselves, but they can't argue with a Tana. So Rav Zvid is saying, hang on, Abaye, there is a Tana who disagrees with you, and you can't argue with the previous group. That once the Mishnah was sealed, in around the year 200, the subsequent generations can discuss what they said, but they can't argue with that, right? So he says there is a brayso that says Hashol par mechavero v'nignava. A person borrows a cow from his fellow, and it was stolen. The kidem hashol v'shilem, and the shol came along and paid. V'achakach nimsa haganav, and afterwards, Chani found that car, right? In that case, Mishalam Tashlumi Kefil is Shoel. The money is paid to the Shoel. So, and that would indicate that payment was made. It's not merely expressing intention, okay? So, the Lishna commenter of Papa, Vada lo habit to Yufta. So the first statement of Rav Papa, where he's talking about the person who was not willing to swear and they paid, that's not a refutation. But Lishna Basra Lema Tehevet to Yufta. So maybe Abaye is now being refuted by this new information that we just provided. So Amalach Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says, Mi alima mimasnisin de katani shilem. So did the Mishnah actually say he paid? He says, basically, he says it. He didn't actually pay. He stated. Omar means he said. He didn't necessarily pay, but he said, but he made a statement. And therefore, so mi rami hasam lokatani kidem. So there it didn't say he rushed in and did it. Hacha, in our case, katani kidem. He actually, before the case could be brought to court, he went ahead and paid. My kidem v'amar. So he says maybe when we say kidem, which means he rushed to make his intention known, he didn't necessarily come in and pay quickly, but he made a statement. So before, it didn't have to go to court, he didn't have to be confronted with the possibility of swearing or not. He went ahead and said, listen, I know I'm responsible and I'm going to pay. So in that case, even though right? Everybody with me? No. Okay, so what Abaye was, what did Abaye say? He said that as long as the person indicates he intends to pay, then even the shoel, the borrower will get the kefil. Because all the other cases, when the bailor brings the bailee into court, and the bailee makes a defense, what they basically are admitting that they're liable, right? Because if the shomer chinam says what? Says I was negligent. Right? How are we doing on time, by the way? Just about, okay. So if he says that the shomer chinam says he was negligent, so is he saying that there's any way in the world that he does not have to pay for this? No, because negligence, there's no need for swearing or anything else. He's saying he was negligent, and therefore he does not need to swear because he accepted on himself that he's got to pay. The shomer safar, or the socher, the renter, who says that it was stolen. Well, he's obligated to pay if it's stolen. So he does. There's no help for him. So just by virtue of the fact that he made a statement, he's obligated to make that payment. And he said it in court or in front of witnesses, however he did it. So there's no way out for him. But then they're saying the shoel doesn't have that because there's no way that the shoel can make a statement that's going to help him. Because the only exemption the shoel has for returning it is if it died while I was plowing with it, and that's uncommon. So he can't. So just because the person says that I was negligent or whatever, it's immaterial. He has to pay. There's no way out for him. So then they're saying, well, but maybe even the shoel can make a statement, right? Because he rushed in, basically, he said. So we have that difference of opinion on the statement of Abaye, whether the shoel has the ability, by making a statement, to avoid the issue of swearing or anything else. And basically the brisa, which we quoted, says that doesn't exist. The only way that he can do it is if he came in and paid right away. But then they're saying, well, hold on a second. Maybe when it says kidem means what? Kidem means he came early. He right? He didn't wait for the trial. He didn't wait for somebody to come and bring him into court to sue him. He went ahead on his own and said, I'm responsible. So then they say that it could be that what our brisa means when it says kidem is not necessarily kidem and shilem, is kidem omar. And he said it. So once he said it, so basically they're saying that Abaye is not contradicting a statement by the previous generation. Okay? We got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're going to continue with this discussion next time. And neither lender nor borrower be, right? Shakespeare.
Comes out pretty clear.
Right. Well, or be careful, you know. So we're doing. This is our value added, right? We do one chapter of the element. We're in the Siddur on page 534. There are 3 paragraphs of the third one. So it's chapter 123, Psalm 123, on page 534 of the Siddur. Here's what we're gonna do. Anybody want to have? Here you go. You have it, right?
No, I don't have it. No.
You don't have it. Okay,
No,
so
I will not have it.
okay. All right. So this is a very short one, but David in here is making a very, very profound statement. He's saying, he says, Shir amalos elecha nasasias einai hayoshvi b'shamayim. He's saying that I look to God for help. And there's a difference of opinion among the commentaries. What's troubling? What's the problem? So the Radak is saying this is relating to people who are going to be suffering in exile and the torment that they're going to be suffering under, and how they're waiting for the redemption. And the second pasuk, it says, "Hine ke'eni avodim el yad Adonaihem," so that we are to God. We're looking to God, right? The same as slaves to the hand of their master, or ke'eni shifcha el yad gevirto, or like a maidservant for her mistress. And so the commentaries explain that just as a slave has no one to look to but his master, who's going to feed him? Who's going to punish him? Only the master. So when we are looking for salvation, or we're trying to understand why things have happened to us in our life, so what we perceive as being good or we perceive as being bad only comes from one source. Only one source. So when David stood in front of Goliath, right? He wasn't afraid, because he knew that the giant couldn't hurt him. Nobody can hurt you unless it's God's will. So he had no fear of the giant. And so he's saying here that just as the good, right? The master feeds us, and it's the master who's punishing us. So that's all we have to look to, nobody else. And so it's when you think about it, it means that nothing in this world can harm us unless it's allowed to happen. So we have to look only in one direction. Okay, so it's a real short one, and it's Shir HaMalos Elecha Nasasi Es Einai Hayoshi B'Shamayim. Hine ke'eni avodim al yad Adonaihem, ke'eni ashivcha al yad gevirta, ke'en einenu el Adonai Eloheinu ad shechonenu. Chanenu Adonai chanenu ki rav savanu vos. Rabba sava lo nafshenu halag hashananim habuz l'geyonim.